Okay, we're going to look at an architectural ed plan today. And again, like most of these videos, we're looking primarily at a UC transfer. And this one we're setting up mostly for Berkeley and LA as they're the primary universities that offer this major. I would recommend, though, taking a look at private and out-of-state universities, but we do have a really high success rate for transfer students from DVC to UC Berkeley for this major. As usual, I would recommend that there's no real advantage to doing all this in 2 years versus 3. I'm always, recommending to students to spread things out whenever possible so that you're able to factor in things like internships, work experience, those kind of things that are helping you build towards your career goals and making sure that this is the right career for you. If you can transfer in 2.5 or 3 and get some good experience along the way, that's a great way to start preparing yourself for your eventual career because that experience is going to go a long way. Consider the OPT and CPT both at DVC and at the university. And then architecture is one of those unique majors in that it's the one major where you have to have your general education done before you transfer. So it must be done before you go to the university. You can also choose to do the Berkeley 7-course breadth. But the good thing about completing the IGETC is that you're also going to be covered for UCLA. And by doing the IGETC, you can also choose some of those general education courses as pass-no-pass, which can be a very good option, especially because these architecture classes are going to require often a lot of time. By the end of your final fall, with all of these educational plans, the goal is to have as many of the courses for your major done as possible. As always, this is a major factor in determining the strength of your application. They don't have to all be done by the end of your final fall, but it certainly does give you an advantage in terms of strength of application. Majors like computer science or engineering are almost always going to have courses for their major being done in their final spring. But for majors like architecture, business, econ, communications, it should be fairly doable to have most of the courses for the major done by the end of your final fall, with mostly IGETC left over for your final spring, and we'll take a look at that in the plan. So the first semester, as usual, you're going to be starting with English and math. You can choose the 192 or 182. There's no real advantage to those. And if you have questions on any of the English or math, I've put together some videos on those as well. And for architecture, you're going to be starting with sort of those foundational courses of 120 and 130. In your spring, your following semester, you're going to finish up with your final English. You don't have any more math to do, and you're going to be digging in deeper into sort of those architecture design courses. The 135, that course there in red, it doesn't transfer, but you need to take it in order to open up the Architecture 220, which is required by UC Berkeley. This course you can choose, since it doesn't transfer, you can choose to take it pass-no-pass, and I always recommend if the course doesn't transfer, just choose it pass-no-pass so that you don't have to worry or stress about performing necessarily at a high level. It's all about getting the knowledge at that point. Your summer, and this is just arbitrary, but you can really pick any of your general education that you have left to do. Fall, you're going to finish up with your final architecture course. There's a physics course required by Berkeley for the major. And then if you're going to apply to UCLA, they ask for these 2 architecture history courses. The good thing about preparing for LA is that these also count for 2 of your general education. So both of these count for area 3 of IGETC. Your final semester, all your leftover GE, and this is where, again, you want to make sure that you have at least 60 units. You can probably take a few other courses that are of interest, but this is a full ed plan for both Berkeley and UCLA, covering all the courses for the major and all the general education. But again, you want to make sure that you have at least 60 units before you go. As always, come by and see us in counseling to discuss exceptions, challenges, additional schools, or to clarify anything here. These are sample ed plans. These don't mean that everybody's going to do it exactly like this. This certainly covers all the courses for the major, all the GE, but every path that students take can be a little bit different. Students might take a semester off, a year off. They might spread this out over 3 years or try to do it sometimes in 1.5. Come by and see us, though, because we want to talk about all the different ways that we can help you be successful. Like I said, with architecture, there's not a lot of universities in the UC system that offer this major. And that's again where you want to keep an eye out for other private universities, out of state universities, and keep an eye out also for some of the information sessions put on by Berkeley for their architecture program. As usual, come by and see us in counseling, and I wish all of you luck.